Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld, and today we're going to take a quick look at campaigns in FPS games, or should I say the lack of campaigns. It seems to be a trend lately that more and more AAA shooters are releasing without one, so why is this, and is it really a bad thing? This is obviously a big issue now for the community with the release of Star Wars Battlefront, which focuses almost entirely on the multiplayer side of things. Instead of a campaign, the game has single-player missions that you can play against bots, which I guess is something, but is this really enough to make up for it? Well, to really get a good overview of this issue, looking back at the history of shooters, there's actually more without story campaigns than you might think. In the old days, there was games like Battlefield 1942 and Unreal Tournament, and in more recent years, there's been games like Titanfall, Evolve, Rainbow Six Siege, and CSGO. On the other hand, not including games that focus on single player, we've got franchises like Halo, Call of Duty, Crysis, Far Cry, and of course Half-Life that have amazing campaigns. So why is it that these games can manage to pull off both modes and yet other games can't? Well, I think it's got a lot to do with the developers. EA and DICE actually announced well before the release of Battlefront that it wouldn't have a campaign, and apparently this decision had been made years beforehand. The reasoning for this was because number one, they wanted to stay true to the original games, and number two, they didn't think enough people actually wanted to play the campaigns. And here's why I think that's complete bullshit, because, and let's include the original games in here, how many people do you think are gonna go see the new Star Wars movie this year? And the answer is hundreds of millions, and you know why? Because the expanding Star Wars story is almost legendary, and to think people don't want that in a game is just stupid. You know why I think people don't want to play campaigns anymore? It's because FPS developers keep doing such a half-assed job and it turns people off. And it's not because it's impossible to make a good campaign for a multiplayer game. I mean, look at Bad Company 2. It actually makes it one of the more memorable games in the series. Players don't want to ignore the campaign. In fact, they want the devs to try and make it good, and it was this thinking that encouraged Visceral to make the Hardline campaign actually decent. And they probably succeeded because they have such a history of great storytelling with the Dead Space games, and on the other hand, DICE haven't really released a good campaign in years. Now, that being said, not all FPS games need a campaign. I mean, I doubt many people will complain that Rainbow Six Siege doesn't have one. And that's because Rainbow Six Siege doesn't have the format to support a campaign, and the same goes for other team-based games like CSGO and Evolve. I think your standard run-of-the-mill arcade shooter like Battlefront or Titanfall really should have a campaign though, even if it is short and even if it's linear. If it doesn't, well, it really has to survive on the back of the multiplayer alone, and as soon as the player base dies off, well, there's no real reason to actually buy the game anymore. But hang on, Battlefront does have single-player missions and that sort of thing, so does that make up for a lack of a campaign? Well, not really. I mean, I've played around with the single player a little bit, and it sort of seems like something that's been tacked on last minute, and I don't really find myself wanting to go back for more. Battlefront certainly isn't worth buying for the single player alone, so if you don't have an internet connection or you just don't like multiplayer, then tough luck. And that's a real shame because, like I said before, the Star Wars theme has so much story potential, and it's just a shame that they didn't really bother to try and use it. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video, so let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. And as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see more of my videos, or if you want to support my channel on Patreon. And until next time, see you later, and have a good one.